if one thing I'm looking from this budget is, do they do something to raise resources on the non-revenue side, which is non-tax side? Because everything else is like tinkering. You can spend 5 hours on that and you would come out with the same conclusion that, okay, tax growth will be 8% or 10%. It doesn't leave limited space for government to actually spend aggressively in the economy. Because if you're controlling fiscal on the other side and your tax revenue growth is 7 to 10%, depending on how capital markets play out, because capital market taxation was a large part last year, then no point thinking about it. And then you have to think what is outside these things, which can actually create ability for government to actually spend in the economy, whether they spend on revenue expenditure or capital expenditure. I'm agnostic to it. I wouldn't mind even if they spend a little bit on revenue expenditure, because revenue expenditure is something which has suffered so much, which is where the corporates are coming back and saying there is no demand, so why should I put in capex capacity, correct? So you also need revenue expenditure, and that can only come if government decides to raise resources outside what is their core, which is taxation. And RBI dividend and dividend from PSUs. If some monetization plan comes in and something comes on that, I think market will really appreciate it, because there are not many other levers in anything that you can think of. That's one. Rather than what is likely to come, I'm telling you what what is it that can move the needle. Second is, I think in real estate earlier you used to have these interest subventions, significant interest subventions, which were taken out. Because, and why I'm saying is because the real estate again is something that can actually move the economy. I think if they do something on that I would look for. Rest all is, I think, in budget is tinkering. I don't think there is anything. I hope there is nothing in terms of capital gains further, against taxes further, because we already are in a weak market. If something like that happens, I think it'll reduce the multiples. Earnings will be what it will be, but multiples will suffer further. My hunch is if it is raised, it will be raised for all affluent people. Because see, government is just a redistributing agent. So for last 10 years, they were distributing it towards corporates in a way, whether it is corporate tax cuts, GST, tariff barriers, everything corporates benefited, correct, effectively, because they kept a lot of it for themselves in terms of margin expansion. And the promoters benefit, and rich people benefit, and affluent people like you and me benefited. But now, if there is a 50-70 crore people are suffering and they have only 7 to 8% tax growth, they have to take away from somebody and give it to somebody. And I think that somebody would be affluent mass class or the wealthy class. So I wouldn't be surprised if something comes on that side in terms of taxation, whether it is tinkering or whether it is meaningful, that needs to be seen. But it's like, even if I need 50,000 crore rupees, I have to take it from somebody. So that somebody is the part of the economy which has benefited over last 5 years, and that is clearly the promoters, the family offices, the rich people, the affluent people like you and me. So I think all of us should expect some tax increases. Real estate is one. I think in insurance there has been a lot of tinkering. So if they can actually once and for all decide to actually stick to something, I think that will be very helpful for that sector, because that sector, every budget people are like on the edge of the seat as to what is likely to happen to this sector. That's one sector, but again, it's a very small sector. Probably some more incentive for skill development, which they gave last year also. If they can make it more tangible and faster, and probably some time bound, like CSR is there, like you have to do every year. So something like that will help.